Why don't we go somewhere where there might not be any sharks?
MultimediaJay radio style.
Burned! Oh, burned, burned, burned. And I am not talking about the Ellie Goulding song. What's up, everybody? This is Jay, also known as MultimediaJay, and you're listening to MultimediaJay radio style. I am here to talk about the balance of what I wanted to talk about when I did my recording this morning, because I kind of got sidetracked by that little rant about this horrendous February from hell that we've been having here in New England with our weather. So I've got plenty to talk about, but first things first, why am I going, oh, burned, oh, burned? Well, I'm out a couple dollars. I think that counts as getting burned, ever so slightly. I'm out a couple of dollars because I have been burned on something I recently did a vlog about. So my last vlog was actually about dollar store. Wow, why do I keep thinking dollar store when I want to say this? I don't even want to know what dollar store air freshener is like. And actually, there was something in the news about dollar store stuff containing, like, hazardous chemicals and stuff. But the dollar stores really, in terms of myself and the Ashens pastiches, have been losing their luster, so to speak, or their appeal, because I'm seeing a lot of their El Cheapo brands showing up in other types of cheap stuff stores. Like, for example, I saw Southgate beef stew at Dollar General not too long ago. So, yeah, textured vegetable protein product, baby. But, yeah, anyways. I don't know. I think the market around here might be oversaturated with dollar stores, and once things pick up and we get more business, say, from the Dollar Generals and the Aldis, the Family Dollars and the Dollar Trees around here might seriously start to struggle, because they're in the same locations as the Aldis and the Dollar Generals. So you never know. People getting some money because, you know, things are recovering around here, they might stop shopping at dollar stores so much, or they might see through the marketing gimmick the dollar stores tend to employ. Like, for example, a dollar isn't always a bargain. Like, for example, you may buy something in a dollar store that you'd find in a supermarket, but like the bottle, what's a good example? Martinelli's sparkling cider, or Martinelli's sparkling grape drink, or something, grape juice or something like that. I've seen the big bottles in the supermarkets, and the dollar stores get smaller bottles. So, you know, $1's worth of that stuff. So it's just something to consider. Okay, what did I get burned on? Well, my last vlog was about video store air freshener, if we can stop going on this tangent and whatnot. So I found out through basically trial and error that the canned version of Airwick's Fresh Waters air freshener actually smells very much like an old video store. So it's just really great for nostalgia and stuff. Just spray some of the stuff. When it first comes out of the can, it's got a little bit of an edge to it. It's not an exact match. But when it starts to get a little stale and the edge goes away, it is spot on. And I actually think it might even be spot on with some GameStops too. So maybe I should reconsider whether this is a good idea or not. But I found it to be very spot on with old video stores back in the day. Back in those days when I stared in wonder and awe at shelves and shelves of Nintendo games and wondering what I was going to rent whenever I went to the store to rent a Nintendo. Oh, you know, we used to go, oh, rent a Nintendo tape. Yeah, we used to say Nintendo tape back in those days, at least my folks did, because for whatever reason, a video game cartridge to them seemed very indistinguishable from a VHS tape for whatever reason. But so I was curious about where else Airwick had this fragrance. And as it turns out, there is a plug-in version of Airwick Fresh Water. So I picked up a new, one of those scented oil things, one of those plug-in things that Airwick has. I already have one for my lavender oil that I use. Well, I use it every so often, but it's kind of just something that I use when I want to use a plug-in air freshener. But I picked up a thing of Fresh Water's plug-in things for a plug-in thing, or for a plug-in air freshener, and the fragrances do not match, and I really screwed up big time, because Fresh Water's, the canned version, is video store air freshener. Fresh Water's, the plug-in version, smells almost exactly like work. Yeah. That fragrance specifically is extremely popular at one of the buildings that I work at. So oops, I think I'll run that sucker full blast and blow through all that oil as quickly as I can before going back to lavender oil in those things because, yeah, oops, I don't want to be reminded of the offices at one of the buildings I work at because, yeah, I'm supposed to be able to relax from my job when I'm at home, right? Why should I be reminded of work? Because that fragrance and that fragrance alone is extremely popular with plug-in air fresheners at one of the buildings I work at. So, whoops! Same name, different smells, totally different things that it gets me thinking of. So, burned. Well, at least I'm out a couple of dollars, but I think it counts anyways. So, let's talk about these news stories that I've got in this list here so I can finally be caught up with the radio-style series and start chiming in on stuff as it happens. Actually, we're going to lead things off with a story that I just stumbled upon that maybe it'll end up on Out of Continues. I don't know. But anyways, I got a feeling I'm kind of stealing Staffa's thunder with this, but oh well, what are you going to do? But anyways, it just posted today, so he pretty much had if he posts his podcast up on Monday still, he has no chance, he'd have no chance of catching this before I did anyway. So, first things first, it's nice that I did have that rant about this New England winter and the February from hell, because that was actually one of the things on my list. So, delete! And now let's go through the other ones as well. Beginning with this one that I have currently open right now. Fallout publisher sends legal threat to game with Fallout in title. This is off of Kotaku right now. Apparently there's this guy, he developed a game called Fortress Fallout. And Bethesda's lawyers, or should I say Zenimax's lawyers, flipped out because, oh no, it has the word Fallout in the title. You'd better cease and desist. I hope you'll resolve this, or we're gonna... Yeah, so... right. Another game company, another oligopolist, actually. Large, out-of-control company just going nuts with the legal system. Just like what happened with Scrolls earlier, the whole Scrolls versus Elder Scrolls thing. It's an embarrassment. I mean, is this really what gaming has sunk to? I mean, I'm just surprised this wasn't something like EA. So, basically what's going on is the game, which is a free-to-play game, which reminds me nothing of the Fallout series. It's practically a puzzle game, for Pete's sake. The game formerly known as Fortress Fallout, is a free-to-play indie game. And they get a cease and desist because, oh no, you used the word Fallout in the title, even though the game looks absolutely nothing like anything from the Fallout series. I mean, this game does not look at all like a post-apocalyptic anything. So, what I want to do, for those who listen to this and anybody who plays games and whatnot, you know, this crap can't continue. These AAA companies that are just out of control and need to be reined in are only going to respond to one thing: money. And that's exactly why these guys aren't challenging Bethesda on this, because, well, it's a giant money difference between a small indie studio and Zenimax Studios, or, yeah, Zenimax or whatever. Hey, Zenimax, you've got enough to figure out getting Elder Scrolls Online up to the level of its competition. Do you really not have better things to do than go after little indie guys? Oh no, they use the F word. Fallout. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, anyways. It's pitiful. So here's what I'm going to do about it, and I highly encourage people to join me on this. I am completely and totally blacklisting the Fallout series. I am never, ever going to play a single Fallout game. And, you know, maybe if this continues, maybe I should do the same thing with Elder Scrolls. But I am not touching the Fallout series ever. You know, if these companies, they think they're unstoppable, and they think they can get away with this because they can. Well, it's going to take a response from us, the gamers, the players, the people who buy the software, before these folks change their tune. But because of this nonsense, I am totally blacklisting the Fallout series, and I will never play a Fallout game. Period. Discussion over. I don't care how good they are. I don't care anything. I don't care if it's Skyrim with guns or post-apocalyptic Skyrim or something like that. But I am not touching the Fallout series. Even if Steam gives some of its games away for free, like what they did with, I think it was like one of the not Dead or Alive, but There was a game that I picked up. Well, let me just open up let me open up Steam here. Hope it doesn't take too long to open. They actually, where was it? Not Dirt 3. I got that with a video card. Left 4 Dead 2. That's what it was. Left 4 Dead 2 was a free game like a year or two ago. It was something that not Bethesda, but Steam gave it away for free. If Steam gives away a Fallout game for free, I'm not downloading it. Oh, I really don't care. I'm not even going to use the arguments that folks that pirate games use for this. Forget it. I'm not even going to play the game for free. Bethesda, as far as I'm concerned, the entire Fallout franchise is nothing to me, and I am not touching any of those games and not spending one red penny on a Fallout game ever. Now, until you change your tune and recant of this nonsense, it's not happening. Sorry. I hope others will join me on this. If you haven't played the Fallout series, but you're curious about it, skip it. Seriously, these companies, they're just going to keep doing this until people just stand up and say, no more. We're not going to put up with this nonsense. And quite frankly, the landscape of the so-called capitalism in America, consisting of oligopolies all over the place that are completely unstoppable, while everybody else is just small time and can get sued, can get threatened with lawsuits like this, is just unbelievable. I mean, if you read about the development of capitalism in America, no. It was a response to mercantilism. 3 guesses what mercantilism was, right? That's right. Huge companies that were in cahoots with the government and basically were unstoppable and unchallengeable, like the British East India Company, whose tea got dumped into the Boston Harbor at the Boston Tea Party. Is this oligopoly-obsessed excuse for an economy here in America what the Founding Fathers would have stood for? Probably not. So, Bethesda, not touching the Fallout series. I'm going to blow off getting Elder Scrolls Online now, and I'm not so sure I want to get Elder Scrolls 6 Argonia either, because Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim, all 3 games had problems with crashing to the desktop. You'd think over the span of nearly a decade of making Elder Scrolls games that you folks would learn the lesson of create something stable, but I have yet to see stability from an Elder Scrolls game. Sad. Just sad. In other news, FrozenCPU last week apparently ceased operations. There's people going around, the rumor mill's in full swing about FrozenCPU.com, which is a modding website. And basically, FrozenCPU ultimately, they sell like parts for like making water cooling setups and modding cases and stuff like that. I've bought a few things from them over the years. There used to be a site called One Cool PC that I used to buy my CPU fan funnels from, and they got folded into a FrozenCPU eventually. But just sometime, for whatever reason, the whole website, basically what happened was something happened with the owner. From what I'm reading, something happened with the owner, and a lot of people got fired, and the site is still there and still taking orders, but it's kind of stopped. The operations of the place is pretty much stopped. People have been putting up videos on YouTube of driving around the warehouse and nobody's been there for a while, and the phone number you get the customer service number of the place is out of service if you try dialing it. There's all kinds of videos and all kinds of rumors, so I'm just going to say what I know, and that is that the operations of FrozenCPU have ceased. They may be out of business. They may not be out of business. I don't know. And there's a lot of people that don't know. And there hasn't really been an official statement on what's going on from FrozenCPU. But for whatever reason, they've just vanished for whatever reason. And this really gets to me because this is yet another small business that is up and vanishing on its customers. And I don't get, maybe, I've heard there's a part 2 to the story. Some people are saying that, oh, well, they've just had some kind of personal crisis and the website's eventually going to resume operations and the orders that are backing up in their system are eventually all going to be filled whenever things get going again. But here's the thing. There's people that are ticked off about FrozenCPU vanishing like this. What's the odds that those folks might not come back? Seriously. I hear all the stories all the time about how we have to stand up for small business and support small business and help small businesses grow, But here's the thing. Any business, no matter what its size, big or small, can screw up and can tick off its customers. I've been through this numerous times as well over the past 10 years. A lot of the worst customer service that I've experienced anywhere has all had one thing in common: small business. There's a repair shop that repairs appliances, or there used to be around here, that screwed up my dryer one time. I had a thermostat not working in the dryer, and the genius that fixed it hung over from his 4th of July celebrations in the middle of summer one year, found a way to reverse the tension on the dryer door. You know how side-loading dryers, it should be easy to close, but they should give you resistance when you open them up? This moron found a way to reverse that. So my dryer door just plops right open, and there's resistance when you go to close it. Now, I paid $100 for him to fix my dryer, but screw up something else at the same time. Not long afterwards, that appliance repair shop went out of business. Interesting how that works. There have also been problems around here of small businesses vanishing, one of whom was a small pharmacy that basically just suddenly, boom, they weren't in business anymore, and everyone's prescriptions were transferred to a CVS nearby. This ticked off a lot of people because the CVS that the prescriptions were transferred to is in the middle of town with a lot of traffic. So all these old folks needing to get their medications, now if they wanted to get them filled at the CVS and not some other pharmacy, they pretty much have to put up with huge traffic in order to get to the place now. Whereas the mom and pop that went out of business, was a little out of the way, so you didn't have to deal with as much traffic. But now they have to deal with the practically main street levels of traffic that goes 4 lanes at some points. So big, huge suburbia-type traffic for prescription refills. And not much for choices to avoid traffic anymore since those folks went out of business. But still, I'm hearing again and again and again, small businesses, poof, they're gone. And in this day and age of social media and small business having like activist groups on local radio stations and stuff like that, you would think that they would be better at informing their customers when they were going to close up shop. But no. And I have no idea why, but it just seems like that's the trend nowadays. And it's sad that FrozenCPU has to be one of them as well. Unfortunately, I don't know if FrozenCPU has a future, even if it does come back. Because for people that are like, no, don't close, there's also people that are getting ticked off and not wanting to order from them ever again. And once you blow it with people, you've pretty much blown it. You need to be really good to come back from that. Really, FrozenCPU should have posted something, or somebody there should have posted something, or they should have let somebody post something about how the operations were shutting down for a bit before they fired most of their people and went down to a skeleton crew. Yeah, anyways. Okay, now since we're heading towards the 20-minute mark, which means this segment's already too long, I'm going to save the story about Nintendo and my response to Nintendo's attempt at some kind of MCN type thing on YouTube to have its own segments, because that is a completely different can of worms whatsoever. But it shows all the more why Nintendo continues to be that company, or that company in quotes, that just happens to be behind the times on things. I'm going to save that for its own segment-rant though, because it's really pitiful. Thanks for listening, folks. This is MultimediaJay Radio Style. Don't touch that dial.